On the 11th of June 1985, the 7th grade of Y.H. Brenner Middle School in Petah Tikva went on a trip across Israel. 4 of the classes went to Habonim Coast, which is next to Habonim village and near Atlit. The 4 classes went in 4 buses, each class in a bus. Meanwhile, at Tel Aviv Arlozorov Central Station, a passenger train was preparing to depart for Haifa with hundreds of passengers. The train was pulled by an Israel Railways EMD G12 locomotive number 120. When the buses arrived at Habonim village, they had to cross the coastal main line via a simple gateless crossing. The first bus crossed the crossing safely. Meanwhile, the Tel Aviv-Haifa train traveled at full speed on the coastal main line, on its way to Haifa, and approached Habonim. After the first bus crossed the crossing, the second bus began to cross it. In this bus were 35 students of Zayin 12 class, the bus driver, a teacher, and the mother of one of the students. The bus stopped on the tracks for an unknown reason. The train approached the crossing while traveling at 105 km per hour, and the bus driver hadn't realized it. The train driver saw the bus from a distance of 400 meters, blew the horn, and applied the emergency brakes, but it was too late.
ו-22 הרוגים ו-16 פצועים. כך נקטע טיול בני המצווה של בית הספר ברנר בפתח תקווה.
The train collided with the rear end of the bus, threw it to a distance of 40 meters, and then came to a stop dozens of meters from the crossing. The locomotive had minor damage, but the bus was laying on its side and was completely destroyed. The passengers of the train, who had suffered from no injury except one, and the people from the nearby village, came to help the people in the bus until rescue arrived. Unfortunately, 22 people died in the collision, including 19 students and all the adults in the bus. 16 students were injured, most of them badly. This high death toll made it the deadliest train crash in Israel since the country of Israel was established. All the buses from the trip came back to the school after the crash. Hundreds of worried parents came to the school to search for their children. There were 12 classes, so it was very hard to realize which class was in which bus and which class was the one on the wrecked bus. The 22 people who died in the crash were buried at Petah Tikva's cemetery. The Prime Minister, Minister of Transport, National Rabbi, and more people came to the burial. 24 hours after the disaster, a state investigation started. The investigation found that the crash happened because of human error, mainly because of the bus driver who didn't pay attention to the train. The investigation found many deficiencies in the children's bus transportation and railway crossings. The crossing at Habonim had no gates or lights, only a sign and some wooden planks to cross the tracks. After the investigation's report, flashing lights and gates were installed in all the public railway crossings across Israel. Today, it is really hard to find a gateless crossing in Israel, even on a rural and unpaved road. The road at Habonim crossing was paved in 1989 and gates were installed in 1990, 5 years after the disaster. Another important point in the report was the locomotive's paint scheme. The mostly dark blue paint scheme of the locomotives wasn't visible enough from a distance, and the report recommended changing the locomotive's paint scheme. Following that, Israel Railways introduced in 1986 a new colorful paint scheme. In this livery, most of the locomotive was yellow, and 4 black strips were painted on each side of the locomotive. Some blue and white were added, and this paint scheme made the locomotives way more visible. Most of the locomotives that were in service during this time were painted in this paint scheme, and today, most of the EMD G26 locomotives in Israel still wear it.
אחד על השני, פשוט גרון אחד על השני מעוצמת ההתרגשות, תמונה, אני חייב להגיד, מאוד מאוד קשה.
After the Revadim disaster in 2005 and the Beit Yehoshua derailment in 2006, both fatal crashes in which trains struck road vehicles, Israel Railways and the Ministry of Transport decided to invest billions of shekels in constructing bridges and underpasses to replace railway crossings. Dozens of bridges and underpasses were built over the years, replacing dozens of railway crossings, and more are now under construction or in planning. In 2022, 37 years after the Habonim disaster, a bridge was inaugurated next to the original crossing, which was closed for good. Today, many railway crossings have disappeared, and they can be found only on remote roads or in places where there is not enough space for a bridge. Locomotive 120 was repaired after the crash and then returned to the main line. Over the last 20 years, it has worked in the Israel Railways Freight Division, primarily in shunting and special operations. In 2022, it was taken out of service due to technical issues and is now awaiting transfer to a site near Nahariya in northern Israel, where it will be displayed. A short time after the disaster, a memorial was built at the crash site next to the crossing. The memorial included a piece of railway track with a stone on it and a sign detailing the event. Another memorial was built next to Brenner School in Petah Tikva. Locomotive G12 number 107, which is displayed at the Israel Railway Museum, is painted in the 1986 paint scheme as a tribute to the fatalities in the disaster. In the last few months, a new memorial was built at the crash site. Habonim disaster remains the deadliest train crash in Israel since the country of Israel was established, and one of the deadliest transportation disasters that ever occurred in Israel. This disaster has changed Israel Railways forever, and many of the changes are still visible. I think we can all learn a lesson from this catastrophe. Pay attention at railway crossings, do not cross the tracks when the gates are down, and do not underestimate the train.